Good morning. It's Thursday, August 20th. And just yesterday, we had a new report about the Russia investigation. This report was issued by the Senate Intelligence Committee. It is a bipartisan, you got that? A bipartisan report. And for those of you who don't know the word bipartisan, that means that both political parties participated in the issuing of this report. This is not a report issued by the Democrats only. I must make that clear for all of the fervent Trump supporters. This report explains how the Russians interfered with the 2016 presidential election and how the Trump campaign welcomed the foreign adversaries' help. It reveals information about contacts between Russian officials and associates of the president, Donald Trump. This report goes beyond the questions of criminality that drove Mueller's report, and Meuller felt that he could not indict a sitting president. Here are some of the key findings in the report. Paul Manafort, who was then the campaign chairman, was working with Konstantin Klimenik, a Russian intelligence officer. And there is information and evidence that suggests that Klimenik may have been connected to Russia's 2016 hacking operation. And so Manafort's interface with this guy is viewed as a grave counterintelligence threat. Then we have Trump and senior campaign officials looking for advance information on the WikiLeaks email dumps. Using Roger Stone, Trump spoke to Stone about WikiLeaks and denied that to the special counsel, claiming he had no recollections that they had ever spoken about it. Now, in January 2020, the Russian government was still spreading disinformation about Russia's election interference. And Manafort and Klimenik both sought to promote the narrative that Ukraine, remember Ukraine, had interfered and the Russians hadn't interfered with the election. It was the Ukrainians that interfered with the election. The report also noted that the Russians took advantage of Trump's transition team because they were inexperienced and they were against Obama administration policies. So the Russians were able to convince them to pursue unofficial channels. And it's likely that the intelligence services of Russia and others acting on the Kremlin's behalf exploited the transition team's shortcoming to the advantage of the Russians. So the bottom line here is that campaigns that are running in the U.S. and political leaders of the U.S. and other influential Americans have to watch more closely exactly what's going on. We must be diligent in the future not to fall victim to Russian interference. Given the extent of Russia's efforts and successes to reach campaign operations in 2016, we have to keep our eyes on the ball. Now, this report is remarkable in its impartiality, and the then Senate Intelligence Chairman Richard Burr, a North Carolina Republican, and Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia were heading this committee. And the report provides an inclusive, exhaustive, bipartisan confirmation of the contact between the Russians and Trump associates in 2016. And it is the only congressional committee that managed to avoid the partisan infighting that plagued the other congressional committees and other congressional investigations that were involved in the Russian election meddling. In the end, the full committee signed off on the facts laid out in the committee's report. Democrats And Republicans, however, ended up with different interpretations about what they say about the Trump campaign and collusion. Collusion is a word that is not written into the report anywhere. Senator Marco Rubio, who replaced Chairman Richard Burr, and is a Florida Republican, as we all know, claimed that the committee found absolutely no evidence that the then candidate Donald Trump or his campaign colluded with the Russian government to meddle in the 2016 campaign. Now, in the report, there's another section called additional views. And in the additional views, the committee members can write their own opinion. So the Republicans committee members who wrote in the additional views section said, with no doubt, there was no collusion. While many of the Democrats said that this is what collusion looks like. Now, neither Burr nor Warner signed into the additional views. And so, even though we had this very comprehensive report, over 1,000 pages, and no conclusion on collusion could be drawn definitively, since in the end, the conclusions reached were clearly partisan. Not one Democrat stepped over the line, and not one Republican stepped over the line. So, like the Meuller report, this report reached no conclusion on collusion. But it did provide a lot of evidence of contacts between the Trump campaign advisors and the people tied to the Kremlin. And that means to me that this country remains in bad shape and will remain in bad shape until something drastic happens. Maybe we'll find out in November that justice will be served. Anyhow, that's what I have for you today, and I'll see you in the morning.